How do I juggle being a good parent with my professional goals? Everything is happening much more slowly than I had envisioned. Yeah, no shit. I've got 4 kids. At the time of this recording, it goes from ages 11 to 4. So I've had small children in my life for a long, long time, right? Over a decade. And it's a matter of adjusting expectations, right? That's part of being a parent. But also, it doesn't have to be small kids. It could be anything at all. I mean, if you've got an illness you're dealing with, or you've got an aging parent you're taking care of, or whatever the situation is. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why life is pulling our attention in multiple directions at once. So this is going to come down to, I'll give you the short of it right now, is fractal systems. That's it, right? But the reason why is because the fractal systems, you have to invest the energy and the attention to get them built and get them spinning. Once they spin, it doesn't take that much to keep them going, and the rewards are immense. So what I mean by that is like having an online membership site, online practice, online program, this kind of thing will help you to, especially if it's higher ticket and you've got the right kinds of offers and your program's built, how we teach you, like you got to have it done right. But as you get it going, it can start to sustain itself. And every time somebody comes in, financially, you're getting another 5,000, 7,000, 10,000, something like that, US dollars, right? And you can do this. You can start lower if you need to. You can start at like $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. But I've got all these ways to kind of baby step people into this, the deeper end. But the deep end is there, and it's very refreshing, right? You can do it. It's real. It's not just me doing it. So you can get this going. And then what that does is now you're getting the income handled with minimal time expenditure. And yeah, there's maintenance. You always want to be like cultivating your garden, making updates, these kinds of things. They tend to be kind of fun, but you can do them on your schedule, on your time. So right now, for example, my oldest is upstairs doing his homeschool. My wife's got the other 3, and they're going around to like antique stores and thrift stores and stuff like that. That's a good time for me to shoot some videos. Yesterday, I'm like sunburned here. We were at the lake all day. I didn't do any work. I mean, you're going to find a balance that fits your lifestyle. The fractal systems allow you to do that. That's what the freedom means. When you get more time freedom and your income is handled and I've got more time, you can do whatever. Sometimes that means being a good parent, slowing down, fucking like getting just down on your knees and looking at clovers or whatever you're doing with your kids and finding bugs and that kind of stuff. Like slow living used to be the norm. Now it's a privilege that we have to earn. I don't like that. Right? I don't like the way the world is going, but I've found a way to play the game well to where you cannot be such a slave to time and money. And you can have the slow living, and you can have the income, and you can have the impact, but you have to do the work. And with small kids, sure, it might take a year to build everything up and get a program going. It might take 3 years. I don't know. But for me, I'm happy going in the right direction, even if I'm going more slowly, than fucking zigging and zagging and trying every new thing all the time, every shiny idea, jumping from seminar to seminar. Oh, maybe this new needle technique, herbal system, whatever, is going to like be the thing that does it. When really we're taking these technical solutions of like our skill set and trying to take those and trying to solve systematic business model problems. It's a different dimension, right? So we need to be able to look at these things. In terms of having small kids, they're only small for a little bit, and it goes fucking fast. It really does. It really, really does. I know everybody says it, but it's so true. And so you want to find ways to, even if your professional goals happen a little more slowly, but you get to be there with your kids. I find for me that it's worth it. As long as you've got that minimum, like you have to make an income, you've got to have your minimum survivability coming in every month. And as long as you can do that and then take some time, don't beat yourself up because you're not making 8 figures a year just yet, right? Let it grow, let it nurture, but don't sacrifice your family for your career, right? And I know there's like, it's going to be controversial, I'm sure, but there's a lot of things like this where we want to have it all. We want to have it all right now. There's a lot of pressure, especially on women, especially because it's like, okay, you should be able to have a career and a family. And it's like, you can, but you can't give 100% to everything. Like nobody's saying, women shouldn't have a career. Women belong in the kitchen, right? It's not that, but it's like, there's this weird messaging out there, and you'll see sometimes influencers and whatever else, and you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And it looks like they have it all. It looks like they've got this huge career, this empire, and they're just with their family all the time. And every now and then somebody is like pulling it off. But for the most part, you've got to give yourself some grace and just drop those expectations and just know that sometimes your work is going to have to suffer because your kid's got a fever. Sometimes your kids are going to have to, be doing what they're doing and you're busy working and they have to stay out of your office, right? Just like if you have a clinic, you leave the house, go to the clinic, right? Your kids are with your spouse or some caretaker or whatever they're doing, or they're at school or whatever it is, right? There are times where that boundary is there. You can't be 100% of everything all the time, right? So we don't want to beat ourselves up for being an imperfect parent, but we also don't want to beat ourselves up for being like an imperfect practitioner, imperfect entrepreneur. There's going to be lost income because your growth is slower, because you've got your attention divided, right? And that's just how it is. I use this kind of like example of females and this kind of like idealism that's going around of trying to have it all, but it's not just for women. Like guys are under the same pressure of trying to have it all, right? You want to be like an attentive husband, a present father, and like a mogul, sitting over your empire and doing podcasts and all these kind of things. Like, and of course you got to have like a 6-pack too, right? Like everything has to be perfect. No, you do your best. Sometimes different things have to take a back seat to other things. There's priorities that shift. And part of being, I think, a parent is really important to understand that you don't get to control every single thing. And it's good to let some of that control go and go, okay, these are their own little people, right? And they have needs. And sometimes their needs are going to be higher priority than other things. And you have to be able to shift and adapt and be flexible. Also, being a parent is really cool because you start to become, I know some people don't have kids, right? This is more a video for like people who do have kids. But in general, being a parent will teach you leadership skills because it will stretch you. It will stretch your personal cultivation because there's the way you know how to operate and your kid may have a whole different constitution. So you need to learn how to communicate in multiple different ways and to get more patient. And guess what? Those are transferable skills. So while you may think, oh, I'm not making any headway on my business because I've been busy parenting my kids, actually, that leadership they're teaching you, when you go back to your treatment room or your online environment you've built, your membership, your paracosm, essentially, you're showing up in a different way. You're showing up with a new leadership energy that your kids taught you, whether you wanted to learn it or not. And there's a lot of stuff like that. There's also like caretaking, anticipating needs, right? There's a ton of skills you learn by being a parent that you're probably not giving yourself credit for because they fucking transfer right over to your business, especially in our line of work where we're taking care of people. Anticipating the needs of your kids. Oh, we're leaving. I'd better bring a snack, right? It's like that, like what the problems are going to be, so you preempt them. That's the same skill you take over to clinic, online practice, right? Like anything, something even mundane, like you're going to give somebody herbs, and here's a problem you could anticipate is that the herbs are going to taste like shit, and the person's going to go, oh, they're bitter. I don't like them. Anticipate it like a leader. You bring out some of that parent energy, right? And you go, hey, guess what? These herbs that I'm giving you, they're going to be, this is just water, but like they're going to be bitter. They're not going to taste good. And you got to take them anyway. And then when the person goes to take them, they're like, oh, this is bitter. Oh, you told me they were bitter. Yeah, okay, I'll take them anyway. You're essentially, you don't want to get kind of too caught up in this, but you're essentially parenting your patients in a way, right? You're providing a set of structure and guidance and caring. And that's also a lot of the same elements that are required for good parenting. It's leadership skills. Now, you're not parenting your patients like you're going to do everything for them and they're your baby and you're never going to let them fall off the bicycle and that kind of thing. Like your patients are sovereign adults, right? Unless you're seeing kids, but even then you've got to deal with they have their own parents and there's sovereignty there, right? So you're not taking the power, right? Just because you're in that kind of position, you're not taking the power away, you're empowering. And it's the same thing you do with your children if you're parenting, I think, and not like there's one right way to do it, but I mean, when you zoom out, it's like you want to empower your kids. I want my kids to be able to fall off the bike and be bloody and crying, which happens. And then they just get back on it. They're like, well, I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to fall off this time. Right. And they go through the hard parts and they get better, but they know that that's okay. Cause it's like, we do have band-aids and somebody cares. Right. It's like that. So it's the same thing with your patients. They're going to fucking drop the ball on their self-care. their lifestyle, something's going to happen to interrupt their perfect routine, and they're going to slip. And when they do, they know it's okay. They can get back on the bike, right? I'm kind of all over the place with the metaphors and stuff, but like this stuff really happens where your leadership skills and how you're able to help an adult human patient can come directly from stuff you're learning with your kids. So even if you feel like, oh man, all I've been doing is parenting, I haven't done anything for my business all week, I've just been in parent mode. Guess what? There's a ton of soft skills and muscles that you're developing in your subconscious that when you do go back to focusing on your business, it's going to make you show up as a different person. So there's that. Don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes things take longer. Again, once you get the fractal system spinning, this is a whole different fucking conversation, because then you're just time free. You can do whatever you want. We'll talk about that when it comes. That'd be a good win to share. All right, get to work.